We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for Mass Media for the fall semester. It is Thursday, September 16th, 2021. I'm going to start class today by examining what assignment 4, which is Hometown Hard News, is going to consist of. That assignment will be due on Tuesday of next week. Assignment 5, which is Hometown Feature News, is going to be due on Thursday of next week. So we'll be doing two things today, doing research into where you can find your first real news story written for this class, which is from your hometown, hard news, examples from 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017, in addition to looking at all of your blogs as they appear at class time, where we're at with assignments 1, 2, and 3. Before we go to that, however, I want to show you my website. I have been trying as much as possible to download the videos from Ultra to my website. Video A, B, C, and D from the past 2 weeks. Remember that on Collaborate with the purple icon, those two videos at this point we cannot access. The video from Tuesday's course, this one, is not formatting properly. What I probably will, for your benefit, attempt later this afternoon is to take it and this class, go ahead and download them to the website, in addition, as you're well aware, to seeing everything on Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. So let's go there next. It is set up for me, as I did a few minutes ago, to enter the class. But if I click out of this, go to the menu, click on recordings, you can find everything that we've done over the past 2.5 weeks. What we do today will also be available at Ultra, but it does give you the option to watch the video in real time or to download it, which I have done twice. Hopefully all of that will be taken care of. In case you ever have a problem accessing my website, always remember that at instructor information, this is in the professor's mode, but in the student preview mode, you can access it as well. My office hours, my website, my business card, and then here with syllabus, it's accessible, and the assignments are available here as well. That is a backdrop for what is going to be coming up next. Just in case there are some of you who are accessing my website for course videos, different types of assignments, rather than Ultra, here is a very brief example of what we were doing on Tuesday. Bits and pieces, then we will get into research related to hometown hard news. We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for the Mass Media for the fall semester. It is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. Coming up in a couple of weeks, much quicker than the first time that we had fall break for the first time in 2019, is fall break is going to break up class in a couple of weeks because video A and video B are Tuesday and Thursday from 2 weeks ago. Video C and video D are Tuesday and Thursday of last week. Shots from her phone and all of the links onto her blog. Very creative. Now, you don't necessarily have to have 24, but it's not going to hurt my feelings if you do so.
My Instagram account, and you can go to their personal account, and they are modeling strictly like their lining. And so now Shin has actually like named like the Jessica Rowland. There's like certain women that they have, and it's like exactly their own clothing line, but it's through Shein. So like that's another debate of what they're trying to, like I guess gossip about, because it's not fair how it's like free, instead of Michael Kors is its own, but like they have Jessica Rowland within Shein, if that makes sense. So
that will be filled in. And whenever I put blank shells on the screen from websites, I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. I just want all of you to know where your classmates are in real time. And it also is indicative of how the assignments are going to vary depending upon your approach to it. And Alexis indicated that she wanted to do a breaking news story that was hard news in nature, but also had a positive twist where people's homes could be saved, as contrasted to some of the other approaches people have taken, whether it be hard news, feature news, popular culture, sports, entertainment. As long as you're basically doing something, and what Kaylee did with the Chinese company that is doing very well in terms of selling clothes in the United States. Right now, she's got 6 different news links with her story links from Twitter. For the time being, let's go to Twitter. Here's MagnoliaReporter.com. Arkansas educators named Arkansas's Ward as Superintendent of the Year. But notice how it differs. If I wanted to, I clicked on Twitter, and it's opening in my window. Three years ago. Now notice Lindsay is going inside the tweet like I did to rewrite the leads. If you want to join us live, I tweet that announcement today on Blackboard. If you want to join us live Tuesday, Thursday from 2:10 to 3:30, you're more than welcome to join, as was the case with Alexis, as was the case with Kaylee. If you want to talk about your work in real time, so much the better. Please make sure that you are not only following me on Twitter for updates, but also, as you saw, examine what your classmates are working on in real time for different types of assignments. I think that helps. One size is not going to fit all. You might have a stylistic approach which is a little bit different, but can equally be as effective. We will continue with assignment 3, with the news leads on Twitter, as many as 10 at class time on Thursday. Let's keep up the creative work. As for MM 2003, reporting and writing for the mass media, that concludes the recording session for today. It's really important as we come back to me live on Thursday that whether you're getting it from Ultra or whether you're getting it from my website, you're watching all of these videos in real time, you are bookmarking my website, you're paying attention to what other classmates have done both in this semester and what your cohorts have done in years gone by. With all of that in mind, let's take a look at the assignments themselves. I'm doing this from Google Drive. As I indicated at the outset, assignment 4, hometown hard news, is going to be due at class time on Tuesday. Assignment 5, hometown feature news, is going to be due at class time 1 week from today, September 23rd. So that comprises 1/4 of the 20 projects in this class. And at the bottom, we have replaced visual journalism, which we adapted in fall of 2020 because of the pandemic, as the final assignment of the 20 to a wild card. Hard news next Tuesday, feature news next Thursday. So whenever we're taking a look at different types of hard news or different types of feature news, what would that consist of? Where might you go? Let's start locally. Magnolia Reporter, which I've shown on previous occasions. If it's your hometown, certainly a place to start. What you can do is to just scroll through any publication, realistically something online, whatever your hometown is, whether you live on campus or not. So in this case, right now, the top story, Columbia County lottery ticket sales down $26,000 from previous month. Is this a hard news story? Absolutely. And when you read more, here's what it consists of. If you wanted to rewrite a story like this, whether it comes from Magnolia Reporter or any Arkansas-based publication, if you see any type of a graphic like this, you could incorporate it into your story. The way in which you approach the lead sentence is going to be up to you. The way that you approach the amount of words in the story is up to you. Sometimes you're going to be more verbose in terms of your writing style, and sometimes you're going to be more compact. It really depends upon what works for you. But let's take a look at the lead sentence. Quote, Columbia County had lottery ticket sales totaling $459,000 plus in August, according to a report released September 10 by the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration, Office of the Arkansas Lottery. Look at the sentence structure. You've got the lead paragraph as one sentence. The second paragraph is two short sentences. The third paragraph is two short sentences, and they're all looking primarily at numbers. Notice how easily this reads. Paragraph is a sentence. Paragraph is a sentence. Short, sweet, to the point. In terms of a word count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 paragraphs at Ouachita County. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and the paragraphs go on and on. So what you're doing in a story like this is basically just seeing from an economic standpoint what is taking place with the lottery. Are they down in Columbia County, depending upon the convenience store or depending upon the venue from which it's purchased? This is an easily readable story, primarily because it is broken up in such a way that it is easily readable. But Calhoun County, Hempstead County, Lafayette County, Miller County, Nevada County, Ouachita County, all the way down to some of the Columbia County retailers, because we're dealing with a different subject matter, the sentences by nature are going to be very small. So Tobacco Station, Magnolia Food Mart, Dixie Mart, and others are going to have separate paragraphs. It's easily understandable. It's easily readable. Tobacco Superstore, it's got instant sales, online sales, total sales. You can also see from an economic standpoint how much the Arkansas Scholarship Lottery is depending upon all of you for revenue. That's just one story that potentially could be hard news. So now let's click on local news, a new Columbia County judge candidate. Anything that you see here as we scroll down would be hard news, including the 65th death in Columbia County, the 4th fatality in 3 days, and the dateline is September 14th. You've got the 64th death from the day before. You've got someone held in a homicide, dateline Magnolia. Everything here is listed in roughly chronological order on the way down. And on the right-hand side, you can see different types of stories, particularly some related to the Columbia County Fair, which is going to be taking place next week. Now let's just take a look at the right-hand side and move up. Family Day at Southern Arkansas University would fall into the category of Assignment 5, Hometown Feature News. Farmers Bank Foundation hosts benefit trap shoot tournament. Say that fast 3 times. That would be a feature story. Columbia County Junior Livestock Premium Sale. Contributors welcome. I'd probably put that under hard news. Anything that is related to the fair in that regard, for many people, would be considered hard news. Warren moves forward with new elementary school and arena. Donna Williams joins board of CCOM Group. That probably would be a feature. And I can remember Donna because I believe she was a business student at SAU, and she's been appointed to the board of directors of a group in Hawthorne, New Jersey. I can remember she was involved in one of our television programs with the old broadcast journalism major when we were doing the television programs for the SAU report on my YouTube channel now in the business building, now known as Blanchard Hall. And you can see that that would be realistically a feature story. So if we come back to news, there's Mike McNeil, Southern Arkansas University graduate. That is his opinion piece for the day. So that would be his diary. And that's from Magnolia Reporter. Now let's just take one of these stories with COVID, and you wanted to incorporate this as your hard news story or rewrite it. You could take a graphic similar to this, or a graphic similar to a website from which this came. It would be very easy to do a screenshot and incorporate that into your website, or you could go to the Healthy Arkansas website, and that's coming up on your screen right now. Anything that would work for a more immersive, interactive blog experience. And as I was calling up all of your blogs before class, there are some of you who are experimenting with different stylistic formats, and I certainly encourage that. When you're rewriting a story similar to this, you don't have to include all of the statistics. Whatever you think would be particularly important for the story. If you wanted to do something like this, that certainly would be appropriate. Lawn service operator guilty of underreporting income. This would be something from Rogers, Arkansas. So if you're from Rogers, Arkansas, or in that area, something like this could be rewritten. You don't see a photo of the gentleman who has pled guilty, so a generic graphic like that would work. Now let me go back to this particular story. What you would want to do is to always make certain that there is a link provided to the story. Whether you do it in any of these formats, or if you just go into the address on top, drop and drag the link, but you want to make sure that we can find where the original story came from. Let's assume for the time being that your hometown is in Little Rock or the Little Rock metropolitan area. Then you could go to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette to find background information for your hard news story that is going to be used as research for rewriting your own. Getting past the ads on top, you've got all different kinds of stories. COVID outbreaks strand some students at home with minimal learning. You've got police ID woman, 8-year-old boy killed in Little Rock, man charged with capital murder. That certainly would be a hard news story. In this case, what you would want to do is to, again, provide the URL somewhere at the bottom so we could see what the original story was before you rewrote it. Lead sentence to the paragraph, quote, a man has been charged with 2 counts of capital murder after a 32-year-old woman and an 8-year-old boy were found dead Wednesday at their Little Rock home, police said. Notice the lead sentence is a paragraph unto itself. When you're writing for online media, particularly print, you're not necessarily going to be writing in the same style that you would do for a term paper. or a position paper in my course, or even a position paper blog, you're going to have relatively short paragraphs. Oftentimes, as you saw in the first story that we were examining from MagnoliaReporter.com, sometimes no more than 1 or 2 or 3 sentences at best. You want to make certain that it is easily readable, that you have the facts correct, and that you are basically giving us the nuts and the bolts without any opinion. And that's where the rewriting and the editing comes in. Police found the bodies while responding to a call at the house, 1801 Nichols Road, a little after 3:30 p.m. Police spokesperson Mark Edwards said Wednesday evening. So you want to not only, in the lead sentence, let us know what's going on with the story, that there is a woman and a boy found dead. You can't necessarily always assume it is a mother and son, because we just don't know that unless the police or someone in a position of authority have verified that. All you can do is to find out the woman, the boy, but notice how this is phrased. A 32-year-old woman, an 8-year-old boy found dead. That gets the attention of the readership, as does the photo. Then we move on. Police found the body. So there's the verification from an official source, the gentleman who's the spokesperson. Then you don't give the names in the lead. You wait. The 32-year-old woman, the 8-year-old boy were found dead at the scene. And then someone is arrested after preliminary investigations. And the story has been updated, the advantage of doing it online. Those are the facts that the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette had at the time. You can't go with any speculation. When you read this story, it says they're found dead. Doesn't say what happened to them. Nothing has been verified yet, so you can't go with any speculation. Again, nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes. What are some of the other stories that are recommended on the right-hand side if your hometown is in the Little Rock metropolitan area? Springdale woman placed on probation after daughter's death. Conway lawyer barred from carrying gun into Little Rock City Hall will appeal to state Supreme Court. Against votes in Northwest Little Rock, and we saw this whenever we clicked on the website, precincts overwhelmed supporters of mayor's tax sales increase, results show. 2 deaths, right here, reported at residents in Little Rock. And finally, Pine Bluff woman pleads innocent in Pea Ridge officer's killing. There are many smaller newspapers in the state. There are many websites that you could go to for newspapers in the state of Arkansas for a hometown hard news story. It just so happens that because this is the state newspaper of record, there may be all different kinds of areas that you could find here that would be in the state of Arkansas or around Little Rock that would work best. Former Washington County school administrator pleads guilty to sexual assault. Fayetteville Health Board evaluates testing options for city employees. Woman found dead inside Batesville apartment. So you get the idea, and there's a blend of national stories here as well, which is not unusual for a newspaper that is catering to the state. Now, you saw a child with a pumpkin down here. 7 pumpkin patches in central Arkansas to visit this fall. We'll talk about this in class on Tuesday of next week. This would be the perfect type of story that would be a feature in the state of Arkansas, or let's say if you're in Louisiana or Texas or Oklahoma or Mississippi, these are the types of feature stories that would come in handy. Some type of fall festival, for instance. 2 different newspapers with items of interest that you could use as background research for assignment 4, hometown hard news. Before we get to all of your websites, I'll be doing this backwards today, and then forwards coming up during the semester, but going back and forth. Sometimes looking at your websites first, sometimes looking at assignments first, and what people have done in the past. Let's go to the fall semester of 2020. I have a lot of windows open. This is the website for Carly Hale. This is what she did last year. That is what her website looks like. And I just happen to have it on something that you have been working on for today, assignment 3, news leads with story links. But if I wanted to do something a little bit different, if I wanted to look at her assignment 4, hometown hard news, look at the way that she's got her website set up. Some of these we have looked at before from previous semesters, but it's very easy for me to find any of her projects because they're all numbered, they're all easy to understand, they're all easy to access. So I click on more posts. Number 6, campus crime. Number 5, hometown feature news. Assignment 4, hometown hard news. Last year, she's looking at hotel occupancy in Amarillo, Texas, how that is affecting the area during the pandemic. And she's got 1, 2, 3, 4 different items of interest, including, because this is where she's from, what is going on in Amarillo, because as you can see from a couple of the graphics, it is a place where people like to vacation and like to tour. 28% occupancy with a link to hotels in the Amarillo area. 65% of guests, a flip of the number of guests. Amarillo's tourism is now trending toward the top of the nation. So despite the pandemic, there's still quite a bit of hotel occupancy there. It's considered a hard news story because this is dealing with business news. Amarillo is known for its number of hotels. Notice the way that she has her story set up. She is weaving her narrative around the graphics. It's not necessarily all that long, but remember, when you're doing something for me in these classes, you're not necessarily being stuck to a word count, but it is that immersive professional blog experience. When I look at Carly's blog, does it feel like a professional news blog? When you as a student are looking at your classmates' blogs from 2021 or your cohorts, as we're seeing right now from years gone by, do they have the feel of reading a professional blog? In Carly's case, definitely in the affirmative. She's weaving her narrative around the photos. The photos are not just there for eye candy. The outdoor activities, including the Cadillac Ranch on the left-hand side. And down here, the state park. She also has a link to the International Albuquerque Balloon Festival in October. Even though Albuquerque is not close to Amarillo, I-40 leads straight to this festival, which make perfect sense. Now let's take a look at this from bottom to top. Those 4 graphics, which are colorful, 3 graphics, sometimes I'll count this as 4, but it creates the illusion of a quality hometown hard news story. Now let's go back one more year to 2019. This is a website that you've seen before. What did Katie Graham do for her hometown hard news 2 years ago? I wanted to begin with number 3 with Carly because she incorporated tweets into her narrative. And you'll see that others have as well from 2021. But as far as Katie is concerned, Her hometown hard news story 2 years ago: drowning of retired Columbia County Sheriff in Lake Columbia. She's got 1, 2, 3 different graphics, including a screenshot which is edited from Magnolia Reporter. Look at her lead sentence, quote, Freddie Sargent of Magnolia, Arkansas, with a link, and retired Columbia County, with a link, sheriff drowned September 22nd at 11:30 in the morning in Lake Columbia. Sargent was out of the lake with one other person in the boat with him when the boat capsized midway between where it was taking off into the water at the landing end of the north shore of the lake and the south shore landing. And there's a link to the story from Magnolia Reporter. As was the case last year when we were examining Carly, she is weaving her narrative around the photos. And there is a shot of the former sheriff. He was taken to the Magnolia Regional Medical Center with a link, escorted by the Columbia County Ambulance Service with a link. He was neither breathing nor responsive. And there is a link to the original article. Up on top was a link to Magnolia Reporter. It was only 3 short years ago that Freddie Sargent retired from the sheriff's office. He served Columbia County for 16 years. And that's her story. It's from bottom to top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6 paragraphs. Depending upon your style, you may be more verbose in your writing, and you may be more compact. If I'm in this class, I'm probably writing in a more compact, interactive style. Sometimes, depending upon the story, in this case with Katie, by nature, it may be a little bit longer, and that certainly would be appropriate. So we've looked at Carly Hale from fall of 2020. We have looked at fall of 19 with Katie Graham. But what about a hard news story from 3 years ago, 2018? This is someone we have not looked at so far, Mary Alice Cole, who graduated in summer of 2019. Mary Alice, 3 years ago, was looking at Sharp County voters have a decision to make about a jail issue. And notice how she has this set up. Lead sentence, quote, the residents of Sharp County have a huge decision to be made this year at the voting booth to have a new county jail or to not have a county jail. Her writing style is more compact, 1 sentence in the lead paragraph. On August 13th, 2018, the Sharp County Quorum Court approves the funding and operation of the new county jail, and then 0.50% of the sales tax. So her story is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if these sentence structures look familiar, keep in mind the way that you were examining the Magnolia Reporter story for all of the Arkansas Scholarship Lottery revenues, either by county or by Columbia County convenience store with how much money was being taken in. Quote, if the residents pass this issue, they will use the money they receive from the taxes to pay off the bonds. They hope that by taking some of the tax money, they will finance some or all of the costs of the new jail. Now notice what Mary Alice did. Like Katie, like Carlin. There's a link to the original article. So what you're doing is serving as an editor. It doesn't necessarily have to be as long. It doesn't necessarily have to include all of the verbiage, but you want to make sure that you're rewriting it in such a way that none of the facts are taken out of context, but it's in your own words. If I wanted to share this, and even though it's 3 years ago, I still could on her social media platform. So that's what it looks like up on top. That is her stylistic approach. And she's got a headline. I don't know if that's a generic graphic of a cell. More than likely it is. But it could be something that she took from the original article. And as you can see, because it is 3 years ago, sometimes the original links don't necessarily always show up, but apparently some of the advertisements will. And if I do nothing else today, we've had a free plug for Sewing Machines Plus. And no matter how much there we go. This is what Mary Alice's website looks like, by the way. Let me scroll up to the top. This is what her website looks like, starting with her final project link, and then everything that she did during the semester. I wanted to show this to you, even though we had some sidetracking from the sewing machine advertisement online. There are so many different formats that you can experiment with on Google Blogger. Mary Alice liked what appears to be a Halloween themed motif, orange and black. There's her hometown feature news, and that's what hometown hard news looks like before I click on anything else. That leads us to all of you and what your websites look like currently. I will check to see who is with me live, because any of you who are with me live, whenever we get to your website, I'll give you the opportunity to talk about your work. As of class time, this is what everyone's website looks like. This is keeping in mind that now 16 of 17 people enrolled in this class have websites. This is what Bailey's website looks like. And for any of you who fall behind, if there is something going on, particularly that is pandemic related, please let me know ASAP. As you're well aware, mass communication is a deadline-driven industry, and you can't afford to get behind. If there are mitigating circumstances, I do need to know. The next website we're going to be looking at in alphabetical order is Finley. And Finley, what I want you to do at some point is to change the award-winning mountain landscape in the back for something else. Let me go ahead and refresh this to see if it's changed. You'll recall a little bits and pieces from the video from Tuesday that I showed today. Finley actually has, over a 24-hour period, a reminder from this. She's got 24 different visuals, and she's explaining them all with links that are in blue. So let me scroll down and remind you of all of the visuals that she provided. We'll just go all the way down to the beginning. Reminders that these are in reverse chronological order. Well, in this case, it looks like it is in chronological order. She's got all of these visuals, and that may set a record for the most screenshots in one assignment. But what you can say is that what she did is extremely creative and very thorough, because as you're well aware, following these leads over a 24-hour period, it's not necessarily a writing assignment as such, where I showed you in Tuesday's class, you can go in and rewrite the tweet. But what does the progression of a new story look like over a 24-hour period? And some of you are still on assignment 2. This is what Jonathan's website looks like. We showed you his the other day, but this is just going to be an ongoing thing during the semester, showing you in real time where all of your classmates are. The next website we're going to look at is Gwen. When you click on the link at the website, this is what you're going to see. And she has her news leads with story links ready. Read more. You have to wait a moment because the tweets will pop up. There you go. There are two ways for those of you who are still researching this assignment can go about it. You can do screenshots of your Twitter account, crop them and post them online, or you can just drop and drag them into your website. Whatever works for you. So in this case, you've got a link to the website, and what she has done is rewrite her headline within the tweet itself, which is what I showed you on Tuesday. From New York Times World, I won't be reading them all, but I will scroll through them for the record. Quote, North Korea fired ballistic missiles off its east coast on Wednesday, the country's second major weapons test in less than a week. You don't have to put a period on Twitter leads, but if it's something that you feel comfortable with and it's something that Gwen does, that's fine. Double homicide investigated in Little Rock. Little Rock police are investigating a double homicide in the 1800 block of Nichols Road with the lead. Now notice how she's got this set up at the outset. News leads with story links, and I want to make sure that for the record I have this correct. That more than likely is the New York Times World tweet, and she explained it on top. Quote, ballistic missiles fired off the east coast of North Korea on Wednesday. If you choose to do it that way, putting it up on top, as some people have done in the past, that's acceptable. There's more than one way to do this correctly. Double homicide being investigated in Little Rock with a link to Channel 7. President Biden announced a security alliance with Britain and Australia from the Huffington Post. And all of these links are still active. From CNN, Simone Biles presents her testimony before a Senate committee saying that the FBI failed to do their jobs regarding the Larry Nassar case. Remember, the FBI is not a person. The FBI is an entity. Saying that the FBI failed to do its job regarding the Larry Nassar case, or its jobs. And there is the link to Simone Biles, and that would lead to a video. Sometimes it opens
Over the
in this
course
window,
of my gymnastics.
Depending upon what style often that you're using with Google Blogger, the videos will open in this window or open in a separate window. As you heard, some of the Simone Biles testimony, and there's 3 minutes worth of it here, is opening in the same window. So let's catch about 30 seconds of her testimony from, as you can see, yesterday. Make sure that the audio is there and the video is already on the way to the end. Here we go. Get back to the beginning. I was playing around with the timestamp on the bottom, and that's why we're getting the rotating circle. So it's going to format. We may come back to that. Lawyer arrested for dressing as Michael Myers, wielding a bloody knife on Galveston Beach. You want to go back in, Gwen, and clean that up because there is no I is always before E. I think it's I before E except after C. But that's a good lead. Then we have one for theater. Theme from New York, New York, to celebrate the opening of Broadway shows this week. And this was fascinating, where the van life blogger and Instagrammer has disappeared, but the person that she was with, her boyfriend, has already lawyered up. What that means, we don't know what's going on there. That's one of those stories that's going to, this is a story that's going to go on for a while. That's a good inclusion of a news story for a tweet. Trees and power lines leveled across South Texas amid Hurricane Nicholas. Hurricane needs an E, probably from the Houston Chronicle. Kids test positive for COVID for weeks after contracting the virus. And this is going to go on until more children 12 and over get the vaccine, and children 12 and under are allowed to have a vaccine once it's approved by the federal government, federal health authorities. Finally, Nicki Minaj in Twitter jail after making controversial claims about the COVID-19 vaccine. So sometimes if you're a celebrity, you have to be really, really careful especially when it comes to COVID, because if you're not a doctor, if you're not a medical professional, and you are a celebrity and you say something which may seem at variance with what health experts say, probably a good idea if you're a public relations person to go in and clean that up. So Gwen, that's a nice job. We will move on in alphabetical order to Kaylee, and I'm always checking to see who's here and who's not. It's not a requirement to be here live, but Kaylee oftentimes will be joining us live from Oklahoma. This is what her website looks like. And this is her breaking news update, and we talked about all of this the other day because she's got the snapshot motif. And that's what it looks like in magazine. But let's go back to Snapchat. Here we've got the breaking news update, which is what we talked about in class on Tuesday. Let me double check because I put all of these websites up before class. Sometimes they will be updated, but I think it's still on the same one that she talked about in class the other day. Okay, but here's the difference. Sometimes when you talk to me live in class, you're still, as they say, a work in progress. This is what she did after class because it is looking different than what we discussed live 48 hours ago. Lots of screen grabs, lots of screenshots, and how you're following the story progression for this particular Chinese company, which is very, very popular with the fashion retailing industry. So that's what she's working on right now. And with all of you, if you want to continue to edit and to shape your work during the semester, even maybe a couple of weeks after something was completed, you go back to your website and you think, you know what, I think I need to go in and clean that up a little bit. That's certainly acceptable. Haley Hines, alphabetically, is next. This is what Haley's website looks like. News leads with Twitter links. Read more. And we'll go through it as the same way that we did with Gwen. Here she has from the San Francisco Chronicle. And we've got, apparently, I jumped the gun with Gwen, so I want to make sure that I have this correct. It looks like Haley did go inside the tweet and rewrite it. People who test positive for COVID can continue to do so long after they are no longer contagious, and there's a link to the story at the San Francisco Chronicle. From the Wall Street Journal, when researchers inside Instagram began studying young users' experience on the photo sharing app, they found that nearly a third of teenage girls said the platform made negative feelings they had about their bodies worse, internal documents show. Isn't that ironic that you have unintentional digital body shaming on Instagram? I think that's why whenever you take a look at any of these social media platforms, you really need to take all of them with a grain of salt. And don't take any of it too personally. Norm Macdonald, who had been apparently, from news reports, fighting cancer for 9 years silently in private, passed away at age 61. He had been on Saturday Night Live. He'd been a comedian. New York Times Theater, Broadway is back. The Times reporters were out tonight to cover the return of several major shows. All of these have links. Space.com, you've got 4 civilians in orbit. Of course, SpaceX is Elon Musk's operation, and there's the link. I'm not clicking on them because if it's not a video like what we saw with Simone Biles, more often than not, these are going to open in a different window. From the official website of Governor Asa Hutchinson, you've got vaccine numbers continuing to rise, even though hospitalizations, according to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, have been going down for the past 8 days. We're making progress, but we still have work to do. Eventually, the math will work, where at some time, ideally sooner rather than later, but in 2022, eventually the numbers are going to get so high that ideally mask wearing is not going to be something that is up for debate because they're not going to be needed, but we will play it by ear. And that was a tweet that was sent out yesterday. Now, again, if I click on this, you can't see it, but the tweet to Governor Hutchinson opens in a different window. From Channel 7 Little Rock, a Conway Regional Health System vaccine exemption from COVID-19 is making the rounds on social media. And here we have Apple launching the iPhone 13 Pro. No, I'm not going to make the same mistake that I did with the CNN Simone Biles video. I'm just going to click on this and get it out of the way.
Apple has launched the new iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max smartphones. The iPhone 13 Pro features a 6.1-inch display, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max gets a 6.7-inch display. Both get a Super Retina XDR display with 120Hz variable refresh rate promo.
So that's the video. I'll just go ahead and talk over it in the old broadcast journalism technology as B-roll in a television newsroom. As you can see, something like this is hitting the market, quote, with a variable high refresh rate Pro Motion display, upgraded camera system. It is interesting whenever you're looking at all of this technology to see how it changes from one iteration of the iPhone to the next. The 2021 Time 100 with a hashtag, the 100 most influential people of the year. And I suppose it all depends upon what you think is influence, because as you well know, influencers make up a great bit of advertising today. So if you're in advertising, you need to consider among your age group, not necessarily who's the most popular in the United States, but who is influencing a demographic, who is influencing an age group. So that would be fascinating to read who those influential people are, because it's in the eye of the beholder. Would I put Harry and Meghan on that 100 list? No, but then they're probably not catering to my interests. AccuWeather, that is Nicholas dealing a scathing blow to Texas cities. And then we have Steve Wozniak, who accepted my, it's not a friend request, but a connection request on LinkedIn a few years ago. He is the individual who started Apple with Steve Jobs. Wozniak is starting a new space company to clean up space debris. And that makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of space junk floating around in space. Whenever you look up at the sky at night and it seems a lot brighter, well, think about all of the satellites that are now in space. That's one of the reasons why. Vice News, gymnasts slam FBI for failing to protect them for sexual abuse. And that, of course, was the Simone Biles CNN video here. She's on the far left side of the screen. So in this case, Haley used Vice, Breezy Scroll, AccuWeather, Time, Editor JI, Channel 7 in Little Rock, the governor of Arkansas, Mr. Hutchinson, Space.com, New York Times, Variety, the Wall Street Journal, and the San Francisco Chronicle for her news leads with Twitter links. That brings us in alphabetical order next to Chris. And I didn't forget those of you at the end of the alphabet. In many of my classes, on occasion, I will go in reverse alphabetical order. So if you're with us live, you don't have to wait as long. This is what Chris's website looks like at class time. I will refresh it to see if he has updated it. And apparently he is not. So Chris, you want to make sure you get caught up ASAP. That brings us to Morgan McDaniel. And Morgan is bringing her graphic arts experience to the class, graphic design, and incorporating it into her blog. So this is what her website looks like whenever we are at news leads with story links. So if we want to keep reading for news leads with story links, now I have to wait. Sometimes you're writing it this way, and sometimes the tweets will pop up. So that's why there's a little bit of a tape delay whenever I do this intentionally to see whether or not the tweets pop up. And here they do. Disney hit TV show The Proud Family announces a reboot. And those are some of the stars. And she, like what I did in class the other day, is writing within the tweet itself. As you saw with some others, including Gwen, if you want to do it above, that's fine. Whatever you feel comfortable with. And she's actually, I want to give her credit, some of you are doing a retweet from the actual publication itself. Morgan is actually rewriting these within the context of her own Twitter account, and that's okay too. That's why you're seeing Morgan's Twitter account and then Huffington Post underneath. Time Magazine with the 100 most influential people of 2021, as opposed to what we just saw a moment ago. There is no graphic here of some of the most influential people. It all depends upon how you're retweeting it, I suppose. From a Twitter account, SOOMPI, I am not going to attempt to pronounce that, but this one is BTS making Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time list. And then you have one from Toby Fox. Undertale fans celebrate the 6th anniversary of their beloved game. And here you have the Montero Show. It's opening in a different window, but that is a video link, and it premieres tonight, apparently on YouTube. We've got K Group members trend worldwide. They're reuniting on JB's radio show. There's the World Music Awards, and this is within the context of, again, Morgan's own Twitter feed. Teenage Wrist start on the road for their first tour since 2019, and there is the link. And that's what she has. So she's got Teenage Wrist, World Music Awards, Montero, Toby Fox, SOOMPI. We've got Time and Huffington Post. And that's what her news leads with story links looks like. And Trey, I'm going to put your website up on the screen. I know that you've had a couple of issues with formatting, but just let everybody know where you stand. And I know that you'd indicated to me in another class that you would get caught up relatively quickly. Let me double check to make certain. And next we're going to go to Taylor Rich. And this is what Taylor's website looks like. And her news leads with story links look like this with Read More. We've got BTS from the Washington Post. We've got, now she's doing it the same way as Gwen. She's rewriting it on top. Quote, the popular K-pop group BTS set to appear at the UN Assembly to represent global youth. That is a Washington Post link. From AFP, now that would be Agence France Presse. This would be from a French news agency on North Korea launching 2 missiles with a link to the story. And that's additional graphics, as you can see. My essay, I'm guessing that's My San Antonio. We saw that earlier. A Texas lawyer dressed as a horror movie character causes a scare on Galveston Beach and receives a fine. Interesting way to kill some time on the beach. Breezy Scroll, we just saw that a moment ago. Steve Wozniak is forming a new company to clean up space debris. And there is Variety with Norm Macdonald. From Houston Public Media, you have the 4 ladies again, with Simone Biles here being second from the left, talking about their encounters with Larry Nassar and the FBI's mishandling of their allegations in an emotional hearing. We've got Insider with the blogger missing. And the fact that she has not contacted her family since late August, that's not a good sign. A Norwegian study, polar bears are turning to inbreeding and cannibalism to survive climate change. That's from Inside Edition, the evening television news magazine. AccuWeather, and there is an AccuWeather meteorologist whose last name is Reppert. I am not kidding, no relation. Hurricane Nicholas, continuing the quote, makes landfall as a Category 1 hurricane, leaving destruction behind on the Gulf Coast. So Taylor's got AccuWeather, Inside Edition, Insider, Houston Public Media. You can see that is PBS and NPR for the Houston metropolitan area. Variety, Breezy Scroll, My San Antonio, Agence France Presse News Agency. I took Spanish, not French as my language, so pardon me for any mispronunciation, unintentionally humorous though it may be, and the Washington Post, which leads us to Seth. And this is what his website looks like. For his Twitter news leads, read more. And he is doing it slightly differently, and as I always say, your mileage may vary. Possible abduction of a Florida woman who vanished on a cross-country trip with her boyfriend. And he's doing, it looks like, screen grabs. He's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now let's go back to the beginning. Now look at these. Culture Crave, The Gymnasts, American Airlines, Bitcoin Magazine, One with the President. You've got the heat and the humidity. You've got Arkansas largest school district ending its mask mandate as the state reported 28 new COVID deaths. Saquon would probably mean Saquon Barkley, I'm guessing, number 26, running back of the New York Giants. Gavin Newsom defeats recall. And there's the story from the Associated Press, so it looks differently, of the Florida woman that everyone knows as the, I believe that is the influencer that we've looked at on a couple of other tweet assignments. And that is the wording that he's using for all of these different items, including Laos plans to legalize crypto mining and trading. And of course, Laos is right next to South Vietnam. American Airlines helping U.S. troops come home. Olympic gymnasts, and you get the idea. So that's what his looks like. I encourage creativity, as you're well aware. Websites are not all going to look the same. In alphabetical order, this is what Courtney's website looks like. And remember, Courtney, I'd indicated to you previously that you'll want to go in. I'm going to refresh this to see if it's been updated with the third story, and it hasn't. Remember, Courtney, you've got to go in and clean up what looks like the old style paper shredder motif whenever you're dropping and dragging something in a particular format. Depending upon the format, it may not necessarily look that way. And that brings us to someone who is here with us live. This is what the website for Alexis looks like. And she, like some of you, are experimenting with different formats. I must say, Alexis, I like that yellowed note paper motif. It brings your own style to a particular project. So before we go any further, let me get this ready. You can go ahead and open up your mic as I click on read more with the story link. I didn't see a read more, but I'll click on it anyway. And tell us what you decided to do here.
So I went through Twitter and I just went to different tabs on Twitter. So I went to trending first and then found a couple that I found that were interesting. And then I went into news and I tried to find different sections. I even went into sports. Sports is not my thing, but I went into the section because I was like, I need to find at least one sports news. So I put, I think I put like a MMA fighting in there. And then I'm trying to think what else. I just went into different tabs trying to make it a little bit different.
And that's fine. And before we start, let me go back up here for just a moment. For anybody who is considering playing around with their stylistic approach to the blog, how did you come about choosing this, and where did you get the template from?
So I went on I believe on the left side of let me go on the website real quick and see if I can find it. It's on the left, and I think it's layout. And I went on layout and then just went on their different options that they had, because I liked how mine was, but I was going through examples of past years, and I have some friends that took classes with you a couple years ago, and I was like, I don't really like mine as much as theirs, so I was just
That's
trying to
why
see.
they're Alexis. I don't mean to interrupt, but that's never stopped me in the past. That's why I want you to look at all of those websites from years gone by. It might lead you in a direction where you find a website like you did and think, hey, you know what? This is my baby. It looks really good. So, but that's fine. But just did looking at all of those different websites help you come up with this
Yes.
particular style?
I do
Good.
not
That's
have a
not-
mass media background, mass media isn't my major either. It's my minor. But I like this assignment, and I like making a blog, and so I wanted it to look nice. And so it took some time trying to figure out which one to do.
As we can see from your profile, you're basically looking for some type of a health-related career, correct?
Yes.
And if you're doing something that is a health-related career, one of the ways that you're going to be communicating with people, as you're well aware, during the pandemic is going to be online. And how can you create an effective messaging strategy? And something like this, I think, is going to help. And by the way, notice that she, like a couple of others, she's putting the tweets or how she's going to approach them with the wording on top. So let's quickly go through all 10. Tell us about Gabby Petito.
Okay, so we've already kind of mentioned her, but she's a blogger, and I actually didn't know anything about her until I went on Twitter and saw it, and I just thought, I don't know, we don't know a lot about it. We just know that her boyfriend, or I think it was her boyfriend, not fiance, but her boyfriend got lawyers after she went missing, and no one really knows what happens, and I don't think we will know until a long time from now. But I wanted to put that on there.
It's one of those stories where we're probably going to find out, but we just don't know when. So in this case, you are relating something and rewriting it from a tweet from the insider. And most of this has been gone over so far. Tell me about the baby shower.
Okay, so this one, I don't know. I thought it was interesting because it's very controversial currently. Whether or not you like Lil Nas X or you don't, I don't really listen to rap, but he posted a baby shower picture of him, and he had like a whole photo shoot. It was very immaculate. Like he had different photos of different outfits, and just as like a mom would with her baby shower photos, he did this but for his new album. And I kind of thought it was funny. And so, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, so I put it on there.
It is apparently set up in such a way where he's showing off his baby bump. Is that correct?
Yes. I don't know how. That was a lot of like makeup or something.
I'm guessing that was something that was Photoshop, but it's certainly a magic moment in class history we won't forget, where we're featuring the baby bump for the new album. But hey, look, whatever gets social media buzz, because those visuals are certainly part of it. Tell us about this fake Taliban band.
Okay, so I was kind of confused on this one, but I tried to look more into it to figure out what they were talking about, but apparently there was a fake screenshot of an article, and I believe the article was from CNN, but someone like altered it, and it was just saying that the Taliban had banned sanitary napkins in Afghanistan, and it blew up everywhere.
Yeah, the fact that they can't spell sanitary just kind of gives off the fact that it's probably bogus.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
What is a sanitary napkin? That kind of gives you the illusion that this is misinformation.
Yeah,
And let's move on. And there's another one with Wozniak. Again, he is the co-founder of Apple with the late Steve Jobs. And the space debris we've talked about in the past, so we can just go ahead and go to the sports story. Now, even though you're doing something that is health related as a career, it's probably helpful to have a little bit of a knowledge of sports, and that's why I'm glad you included this among your group. Tell us about UFC.
So I do not watch UFC, but I was trying to find something that was interesting that I could relate. I really wanted to do a sports story, but I don't watch any sports, sadly. But I found this and I thought it was pretty cool because, like I said, I don't know much about UFC, but I have watched a couple of fights, and I think it's kind of cool because I don't know, I just like watching them because I don't know if it is choreographed, but it looks like kind of a dance, and I think it's cool. But
And that brings us to potty training of cows. I believe this was the story that I saw from a different website. Doesn't this involve, among other things, cow urine?
yes.
Right. Go ahead and be delicate in your explanation, as I'm sure you will be.
Okay, so this one, I probably do need to do more research on this. I do not know a ton about like global warming or any of that, but I just thought it was kind of interesting because I've never heard about urine causing any problems. I've heard of like cow flatulence that can cause issues, but I haven't heard anything about urine. But apparently in Germany, they are potty training them to reduce the amount of, to reduce the amount of, I think it's methane that's
Right.
going in the air, but yeah.
But see, something like this we've heard about for years, especially when it comes to the emission of gas by cows. And we'll just leave it there because people will read the story, and as someone who grew up on a farm, it's something that you become well aware of, and that was in central Illinois. So tell me about the celebrities at this gala posting photos while being on a phone ban.
So the main one that posted was Lil Nas X, and I did another post about him. Like I said, I really don't follow him, but a lot of stuff was trending about him. So,
Right.
But apparently he had taken a whole bunch of pictures with different celebrities, and a lot of people were enjoying it because I don't think he got in trouble or anything, not that we know of. But a lot of people were enjoying the photos and they blew up. He just had different photos with like Billie Eilish, Kendall Jenner, Olivia Rodrigo, and just different celebrities at the Met Gala.
And that leads us to the gymnast. And we've talked about this a great deal because that certainly is an important story. And you rewrote that from Vice News. And then we get to uninhabitable homes in Louisiana, and that's the Wall Street Journal. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about it, but if you don't want to, that's fine.
Oh, yes, I can. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
So,
just give me 15 to 20 seconds.
Okay, I can do this. So in Louisiana, as many of y'all know, Hurricane Ida was happening, and I thought this was interesting because there's a lot of devastation that's occurring and has already occurred, but 80% of the homes, people can't live in them, so they're just waiting for like FEMA to rebuild or where they can they're trying to find a home or somewhere to live because currently a lot of people there don't have places to live.
And you can imagine just how challenging it would be, Alexis, for people who are in the insurance industry, just trying to help out people in the evaluation of their homes. This is the type of thing that's going to go on for a long time, which brings us to Alanis Morissette, who does not support her upcoming documentary.
So apparently they had shed her in a bad light. It was about her, I believe it was about one of her albums that she had made. And she agreed at first for them to do it. And then they did not do they didn't portray her in the way that she wanted. So she was talking about it on Twitter.
And this is the end of your blog for this assignment, and I always use that as an indication. If I wanted to share this on social media, I could. But she's got the Los Angeles Times, the Wall Street Journal, Vice, Pop Sugar, Mike, ESPN, MMA, Breezy Scroll, WebQOOF, Montero, Insider on 2 different areas, and that's what hers looks like. And when you see the stylistic approach that she's taking to the website, that's what it looks like, including the other 2 assignments underneath. Okay, Alexis, are we good?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You can go ahead and close your mic. And that brings us to the last couple of websites for the day. And I will show you right now, right after Alexis, is Lauren. And I will put hers up on the screen. I'll be running a little bit longer than 3:30, but I want everybody's websites to be shown. And Lauren, for you and Alexis and everyone else, I will reverse. As I told you earlier today, on Thursday, I will reverse the project on Tuesday of next week whenever it comes to the next project. Now, let's take a look at this particular hometown hard news. Will be Tuesday of next week. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but this is her news leads with story links. She's got Metro UK, and she's rewritten it inside the tweet. That's the Met Gala. The Centers for Disease Control with COVID. Some of the issues involving vaccination. California streaming from Apple. The Washington Post with Vladimir Putin. NBC News with Jim Brewer. And then you've got Snooki. And we looked at that briefly the other day. Lauren, if this is still a work in progress, it's okay in terms of writing or rewriting tweets. If some of these you're still editing, that is certainly acceptable. Now, as I was trying to inartfully say a couple of minutes ago, those of you who are at the end of the alphabet, I will reverse this order of the websites on Tuesday of next week for assignment 4, Hometown Hard News. So those of you who often are here live, such as Kaylee or Alexis, can talk about your projects a little bit earlier. Then we'll go back and forth during the term. So we go from Lauren to Joanna. And I just want to show you her website for the record because she is picking this up in midstream. And this is her defining news assignment. And we talked about her website before, but I just wanted to, for the record, let you see what hers looks like. And I will refresh Carlin's before you see it. Carlin is still on assignment 2. And this is what her website looks like whenever you click on it with the interactive area of the website. That's what it looks like. And then we get into read more, what I showed you the other day. And the tweets eventually, as you're well aware, there's a little bit of a tape delay, and then eventually it comes up on the screen. So this is what she was examining for assignment 2 the other day, with 1, 2, 3 different tweets, and then a larger graphic showing how Tropical Storm Mindy could potentially wreak havoc in the Southeast. A friendly reminder before we conclude, when you are at either the website or on Blackboard, you will run into the list of assignments, which I'm going to show you on Google Drive. More than likely, between now and Tuesday, I will send out a tweet that shows you how a student from the fall of 2020 put together his or her assignment for Hometown Hard News. This class was a little bit longer today, and some of them will be because I just like to take some time. As you heard earlier with Alexis, going back over previous websites, she really wanted to enhance her artistic creativity. And sometimes you'll see something that gets your attention. Well, it could be that, or it could be an example of a Hometown Hard News story, something that is updated to 2021 to your hometown newspaper. And so behind this, all of these different classes can be used as research. Just click on their names. I usually don't go back as far as 2016 or 2015, but it will help. And then, even though this is on Google Drive, remember, all of these videos are available for you to watch. More than likely, I will reformat this one because from Tuesday of this week, it is just not showing up on the screen the way it should. So as we conclude a relatively long class period today, keep in mind that if anyone gets behind, it's your responsibility to get caught up, watch the videos, notice what your classmates are doing currently, notice what your cohorts have done in years gone by, and notice what I say in terms of a writing style. Some of the projects that you've seen so far, currently and in years gone by, have different stylistic formats, but the meat and potatoes, the nuts and the bolts of the writing is not going to change all that much. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be immersive. You saw that from the creativity provided by individuals with rewriting the tweets for assignment 3, taking a look at all of those different Twitter stories with the news leads. Assignment 4, going to be due on Tuesday of next week, which is Hometown Hard News. Assignment 5, due Thursday of next week, Hometown Feature News. We will continue with this research coming up next week. We're on the right track. Make sure that everyone gets caught up, because by the end of next week, 1 week from today, September 23rd, we are 1/4 of the way through the semester, with 5 out of the 20 assignments completed, and that doesn't include the final project, which is visual journalism. Let's keep up the quality research, writing, and editing. S4, MM2003, reporting and writing for the mass media. That concludes the recording session for today.